Have you ever felt stuck between what you know you should do and what you actually end up doing? That constant urge to start but never finish? Or that fleeting motivation that fades before you see any results? Self-discipline seems like a distant concept when temptations are strong and the effort feels exhausting. But what if I told you that self-discipline isn't something you either have or don't have, but a skill you can train and strengthen? This audiobook is here to show you how. Throughout this journey, you'll uncover science-backed secrets that will allow you to take control of your mind, increase your willpower, and turn your goals into tangible achievements. It's not about relying on motivation, but about understanding how your brain works, how to maximize your energy, and how to adopt the strategies of the greatest achievers to get extraordinary results. From tactics used by the U.S. Navy SEALs to scientific discoveries that reveal what truly drives self-discipline, every concept here is a practical tool for transforming your life. Forget about complicated methods. Here, you'll learn how to maximize your potential without constant effort, how the key lies in strategic planning, and how motivation can be your ally if you know how to keep it alive. Are you ready to go beyond what you thought was possible? This isn't just about reaching goals, it's about unlocking a new level of performance within yourself. Get ready to learn how the small daily decisions, the ones that seem invisible, can have a profound impact on your future. Because self-discipline is not only the path to success, it's the key that will unlock the door to your best version. Listen, reflect, and transform. Your disciplined future begins now. Self-discipline isn't a gift you're born with, nor a privilege reserved for a select few. Above all, it's a matter of mindset. It's the act of betting on yourself, of prioritizing what truly matters, and staying committed to the path toward your dreams, even when the world seems to conspire against you. Because in the end, every time you choose to move forward, even if it's just a small step, you're not only strengthening your willpower, but also the internal narrative that reminds you that you're capable. Willpower is the bridge between what you desire and what you achieve. It's that invisible muscle that, when trained, frees you from self-pity and brings you closer to success. Discipline is freedom, as Jocko Willink said, and he's right. But it's also an art, a daily practice that, in this age of endless distractions, seems harder than ever. We are surrounded by traps designed to make us stumble. Think about it. Why do you think supermarkets place snacks at the checkout counters? Because they know that after resisting aisles filled with unhealthy food, your willpower will be drained, ready to give in to what seems like an innocent craving. What's fascinating here is how these small moments of decision can accumulate, for better or for worse, creating habits that then define our lives. What seems like a trivial choice today can become a hard-to-break pattern tomorrow. The key to resisting these manipulations isn't just wanting to be stronger, it's understanding how your mind works. And this means learning to observe yourself with honesty, but also with compassion. By getting to know yourself better, you can identify those moments when you're most vulnerable and, instead of judging yourself, prepare to face them. Knowing your vulnerabilities isn't a sign of weakness. It's a powerful tool for conquering your goals. Yet many of us remain trapped in misconceptions about what self-control really means, blaming ourselves for what we think is laziness or lack of organization, when in reality, the problem lies in how we perceive our own strength. The biggest myth is thinking that self-discipline is something you're either born with or not. Yes, some people may have genetic predispositions that help them a bit, but that's not what makes the difference. The real difference lies in how you choose to respond to the daily challenges you face. Every action you take, no matter how small, either builds or erodes your self-discipline. The truth is that self-discipline is trained like a muscle. And like any muscle, if you don't use it, it weakens. But if you commit to exercising it day in and day out, the results are extraordinary. Self-discipline isn't about being perfect. It's about deciding over and over that you're bigger than your fleeting impulses. It's about becoming your own coach, shaping your thoughts, managing your emotions, and designing your environment so it works in your favor, not against you. This is crucial. It's not about infinite willpower, but about strategic intelligence. Why fight against the current when you can build channels to take you farther with less resistance? It's a process, not a destination. And while it requires effort and patience, the rewards are immeasurable. You'll maximize your potential, transform your life, and discover what you're truly capable of. The journey won't be easy, but it will be worth every step. Now is the time to begin. Because in the end, the question isn't whether you can do it. It's whether you're willing to commit to yourself long enough to see the fruits of your effort. Understanding how our willpower works is the first step to transforming it into a powerful tool. However, it's not enough to simply know what it can give us. We must also understand its limits, its breaking point. It's a resource that, like time, we must learn to manage wisely. This is where the work of psychologist Roy Baumeister opens our eyes. Our self-discipline is not infinite, and squandering it can cause us to give up just when we need it the most. This idea might sound discouraging at first, but it also reminds us that managing our inner energy is just as crucial as any external strategy for success. In an experiment that marked a turning point, Baumeister gave two groups of people two options: candy or bitter radishes. The first group could choose freely, while the second was forced to eat only radishes. Afterwards, both groups were asked to solve a complex puzzle. The result? Those who had spent their willpower resisting the candy gave up on the challenge almost twice as quickly as those who didn't face that restriction. Although it might seem like an insignificant detail, this experiment reveals a universal truth. Every small internal battle takes a toll on us, and those micro-decisions accumulate, creating habits that define our lives. What seems like a trivial choice today may become a difficult pattern to break tomorrow. What does this teach us? That our willpower is like a battery. Every decision we make drains it, and if we don't manage its wear and tear, we'll find ourselves exhausted before reaching our goals. Recognizing this isn't an excuse to give up. It's an invitation to be strategic. After all, a well-maintained battery can last far longer than expected. And the same goes for our mental energy. But there's good news. We can optimize and protect our willpower with smart strategies that will keep us strong in the face of temptation. Here are some key ways to do that. First, reduce situations that trigger unnecessary impulses. This doesn't mean depriving yourself. It means being proactive. Make lists before going shopping. Avoid places that lead you to bad decisions, and remove from your environment anything that might cause you to slip up. For example, if you know you tend to procrastinate in front of the TV, why not put the remote in a less accessible place? Often, small changes in the environment can bring about big transformations in your behavior. So, instead of spending your energy resisting, you'll use it to move forward. Second, forget about multitasking. Although it might seem efficient, it scatters your focus and drains your self-control. An experiment led by Baba Shiv showed this. One group was asked to remember a long number, while another group just rested. The result? The group with the occupied mind chose calorie-dense desserts 50% more often than the relaxed group. This finding underscores something crucial. When we try to do too many things at once, we're more likely to make impulsive decisions. Here lies an essential principle. The quality of your focus determines the quality of your choices. Learning to say no to what's not a priority is, at its core, an act of self-care. Additionally, organize your environment, both physical and digital. Clutter isn't just visually chaotic, it's mentally exhausting. A clean and organized space frees your mind, reduces distractions, and strengthens your self-control. Think of this as a silent investment. Every minute spent organizing your environment is time you'll gain back in clarity and effectiveness. Another crucial tip: manage activities that release dopamine. This hormone, responsible for pleasurable feelings, can be both your ally and your enemy. Distractions like social media are addictive, but if you use dopamine in your favor, you can create healthy habits. The key is to redirect pleasure to activities that nourish your mind and body. Find ways to enjoy what's necessary, and you'll turn your goals into something you desire to achieve, not just something you feel you have to do. Finally, make positive choices the easiest to make. If you know you spend too much time on your phone, disconnect from social media or leave your device in another room. This will help you make conscious decisions instead of acting out of habit. Every barrier you put between yourself and a distraction becomes a silent reminder of what truly matters. Willpower is a limited resource, but with strategies like these, you can protect it and use it to transform your life. And the best part is that every small triumph builds positive momentum. What today seems like an extraordinary effort will tomorrow become a natural habit. As you move forward, you'll discover more tools and skills to turn self-discipline into your superpower. The journey begins with small changes, but each one brings you closer to the best version of yourself. Listening to our deepest dreams and giving them a voice is a powerful act. It is a reminder that everything begins with a why. Why do we want more willpower? Why do we pursue our goals? It's not always easy to face these questions because sometimes it means staring directly at our fears and deepest desires. But this act of introspection is an anchor, a refuge we can return to when the path becomes uncertain. Answering these questions isn't always simple, but doing so is essential because when we understand what drives us, we find the energy to overcome any obstacle. We often think that money, recognition, or promotions are the biggest drivers of motivation. But the reality is much deeper. In a revealing study, psychologists Teresa Amabile and Stephen Kramer asked 238 employees to keep a journal and record their emotions while working. What they discovered was surprising. It wasn't external incentives that truly motivated people, but the sense of progress. That moment when we move forward, even a little, fuels our confidence and gives us a reason to keep going. That small daily advancement, that spark telling us we're one step closer to our goals, is what inspires us to give our best. However, 95% of managers completely underestimated this factor. This leads us to reflect. How many times do we overlook these small victories, waiting for only big milestones to validate our efforts? Celebrating every step is as important as planning the next. In life, our motivation can be divided into two main categories: extrinsic and intrinsic. Extrinsic motivation comes from outside: rewards, recognition, the desire to avoid failure or rejection. It is valuable, but limited. On the other hand, intrinsic motivation comes from within and is infinitely more powerful. It is the silent engine that keeps running even when no one is watching, because it answers to an inner calling, not an external expectation. This type of motivation pushes us to act regardless of what others think, because it responds to something much deeper. Among the most important intrinsic drivers, we find autonomy. The freedom to decide how we do things has an immense impact on our motivation. Imagine two groups of illustrators. One receives strict instructions on what to draw, while the other has creative freedom. Who will be more inspired? Autonomy gives us wings to create and grow. This sense of control not only enhances our motivation, but also strengthens our confidence in our abilities. When we feel like we are the architects of our decisions, we work with more passion and determination. Mastery. Seeing how our skills improve over time fills us with purpose. Learning, growing, and perfecting ourselves are desires ingrained in our DNA, and every small step forward drives us to want more. Mastery is not a destination, but a continuous journey. Every step towards excellence reminds us that true success lies not in reaching perfection, but in enjoying the process of becoming the best versions of ourselves. Purpose. Having a reason that transcends mere doing is one of the greatest drivers of human beings. When our actions have a bigger meaning, we can overcome any difficulty. A clear purpose connects us to something greater than ourselves, giving meaning to the hardest moments and transforming them into stepping stones towards something extraordinary. Peter Hollins reminds us that true prosperity comes from feeding this inner motivation. When we connect with our deepest desires, we stop acting to prove something to others and start living to fulfill our mission. This connection to what truly matters protects us from burnout, because we're not working just for immediate results, but for a dream that transcends time. And if that mission doesn't seem inspiring enough, Hollins recommends a radical change. Apply the 10x rule proposed by Grant Cardone. This principle is simple but transformative. Multiply your goals by 10. If you want to save $20,000, aim for $200,000. And not only that, also multiply your efforts by 10. Why dream big? Because aiming for the highest pushes us to break the barriers we have created ourselves. The thoughts and beliefs that got us this far won't be enough to take us to the next level. It's as if our boldest goals force us to reinvent ourselves, to let go of the limited versions of who we are, and build a more expansive identity. To grow, we must rewrite our internal narrative, change the way we see ourselves and what we believe we are capable of achieving. The path may seem challenging, but the reward is immense. You have the power to imagine a bigger, bolder life, and most importantly, you have the power to build it. Every action, no matter how small it seems, is a brick in the building of your dreams. Don't underestimate the impact of what you do today because it could be the seed of monumental transformation. We are much stronger than we think. That's a truth we rarely stop to consider. Often, our view of our capabilities is limited by the invisible barriers we put up ourselves. But if anyone knows what it means to push the human potential to the maximum, it's the Navy SEALs, the members of the elite Special Operations Force of the U.S. Navy. They train in the most extreme environments on the planet, from the suffocating jungle to the freezing cold of the Arctic. What is the secret to overcoming challenges that seem impossible? Beyond physical skills, what sets them apart is an unbreakable mindset. This mindset, this ability to face pain and adversity with resilience, is something we can all cultivate if we decide to take control of our own narratives. Among their most iconic principles is the 40% rule, which suggests something deeply revealing. When you think you've reached the limit of your strength, either physically or emotionally, you've actually only used 40% of your capacity. This principle challenges our most common belief that fatigue or exhaustion is a sign that we can no longer go on. Yes, 40%. This means there is still 60% left to discover. A huge margin of strength and resilience that you only tap into if you choose to believe in yourself and push beyond what your mind thinks is possible. The real barrier is not in your body, but in your limiting beliefs about what you can do. And here's the most striking part. This rule is not limited to the Navy SEALs. It applies to our lives as well. However, the comfort of modern society often prevents us from discovering what we are truly capable of. Constant distractions and instant gratification have made us forget that in order to achieve something extraordinary, sustained effort is required, and we must push ourselves out of our comfort zones. With technologies that make everything easier for us, we rarely face situations that require us to test our true capabilities. We become accustomed to underestimating ourselves, and without realizing it, we settle for less than we could achieve. This complacency, so prevalent in our daily lives, prevents us from discovering our internal reserves of strength. The power of the human mind is astonishing, and the placebo effect proves it. In various experiments, patients who believed they were taking real painkillers but were actually given sugar pills reported a reduction in pain. This demonstrates how the mind can influence our physiology in deep and surprising ways. Why? Because they believed they would improve. And that belief was enough to activate their body's internal mechanisms. If a simple idea can transform our perception of pain, imagine what we could achieve if we applied that same confidence to our goals. What's fascinating is that this mental power is within everyone's reach, but we must believe in it for it to be activated. Our brain, with its 100 billion neurons, as many as stars in the Milky Way, is an extraordinary tool that we rarely use to its full capacity. The limitations we perceive are often self-imposed, not because our brain is incapable, but because we haven't trained ourselves to access all of its potential. And this is where the 40% rule comes to life in our everyday life. It's not about imagining ourselves as movie superheroes, but about taking small steps that take us beyond what we thought was possible. Every small effort can be a step towards a stronger and more resilient version of ourselves. If you're exhausted, write one more paragraph before stopping. If you feel like you can't go any further, do 1 or 2 more push-ups. With each small effort, you expand your limits. It is in these moments of doubt that true character is forged. Before you know it, you'll have achieved goals that seemed unreachable. It's a cumulative process. What starts as a minimal effort becomes over time an amazing demonstration of your ability. To help you calm down and maintain self-control in moments of pressure, Mark Devine, a former Navy SEAL, recommends the box breathing technique. It's simple but powerful. Inhale for 4 seconds, hold for another 4, exhale for 4, and finally hold your breath again for the same amount of time. This exercise is not only useful for moments of extreme pressure, but also for any time you need to regain mental control, like before a big presentation or when feeling overwhelmed. This cycle not only helps you center yourself, but also strengthens your mind-body connection, giving you the control needed to face any challenge. Conscious breathing is a tool we all have at our disposal to calm the mental chaos and find clarity. Remember this: every time you think you can't go any further, it's not your body that's exhausted. It's your mind trying to protect you from extra effort. What's really at stake is our will to keep going, even when faced with discomfort and pain. But you are capable of more, much more. Start today, push yourself a little further than you thought possible, and discover the true extent of your potential. The real limit is just an illusion created by the mind, and with every step forward, we dissolve that illusion and embrace a reality greater than what we thought we were capable of. Success becomes a much more real possibility when we harness the power of science to maximize our willpower in daily life. What's fascinating is that by integrating these scientific principles into our daily routines, we not only optimize our productivity, but we also reprogram our mindset to see challenges as opportunities. Imagine this: marathon runners, when exhausted in the final kilometer, surprisingly manage to increase their speed. Even though physically drained, what drives them is the principle of proximity to the goal. The closer they get to the finish line, the stronger their drive becomes. This phenomenon is not only applicable to athletes, it's a reflection of how the human mind works in general. This seemingly paradoxical principle shows us a powerful lesson. When we visualize our goals clearly and measurably, our motivation activates exponentially. The human mind responds to clear and attainable goals like a compass, guiding us precisely through obstacles. How can we leverage this principle for our benefit? Set intermediate goals along the way to the big dream. Intermediate goals are not just stepping stones, they are celebrations in themselves, moments of recognition that add value to our effort and propel us to the next stage. These small achievements that mark progress serve as fuel for the mind. Every step toward the goal gives us new momentum, reducing the need to consume our willpower at each stage. Progress, even small, triggers a positive feedback loop that strengthens our determination and resilience. The great winners of the world not only focus on the present, but also follow the latest advances in psychology and neuroscience, adapting them to their daily routines. This cutting-edge approach not only keeps them motivated, but also allows them to optimize every aspect of their lives strategically. This is a key tool for keeping the fire of motivation alive day after day. What's valuable here is the integration of science into daily life, not as an occasional addition, but as a fundamental principle that reconfigures the way we act and think. But science has even more to offer. One key principle we can apply in our lives is Parkinson's law. This law tells us that work expands to fill the available time. It's a fascinating law because it reveals how our perception of time affects our productivity. The more time we have for a task, the longer it takes to complete. But what if, instead of procrastinating, we set tighter deadlines? This forces us to be more creative and efficient, as the sense of urgency sparks a deep level of focus in our brains. What if we did everything we could to complete tasks efficiently ahead of schedule? This small shift in focus can transform our productivity and help us stay motivated without falling into the trap of procrastination. The time pressure not only generates efficiency, but also strengthens our ability to make quick and effective decisions. Additionally, the progress derivation effect is an invaluable lesson. In a study, customers of a car wash company were given loyalty cards with different numbers of spaces to stamp. The group that already had some stamps filled visited the store more often, simply because they felt they were closer to receiving their reward. This effect is a testimony to how our minds, when perceiving that we're on the right track, find motivation to keep going more easily. This discovery teaches us something fundamental. Motivation spikes when we feel we've already traveled part of the way. It's like when we start a project or a goal, and by seeing the first results, we feel more confident that we can achieve it. This principle applies to everything in life. For example, if we decide to learn to play the violin, we're not starting from zero. Maybe we already have basic music knowledge or have played other instruments. It's this prior knowledge that becomes a leverage to progress faster. Every small skill we bring with us becomes a granted progress, an advantage that puts us one step ahead and gives us the confidence to keep moving forward. It's not about starting from scratch. It's about leveraging what we already know and using it as a springboard to the next level. Finally, it's crucial to understand that real power lies in effort, not just in the result. The true value lies in the ability to persist, to adapt, and to keep going even when we don't see the immediate fruits of our labor. In life, we don't always control everything that happens. Sometimes, despite our hard work, we don't get what we expected. But this shouldn't demotivate us. What really matters is what we've learned and how we can repeat the process with even greater effectiveness under different circumstances. Every failure is just a lesson in disguise. It's an opportunity to adjust our approach and reinforce our resilience. Every attempt, every effort is an opportunity for growth. And it's this constant growth that builds true success, far beyond immediate results. Self-discipline isn't about being perfect, but about continually advancing, transforming each step into a lesson, and using science to our advantage to stay motivated, focused, and determined to achieve what we set out to do. This approach not only allows us to be more productive, but also more aware of our internal processes, thus increasing our ability to stay on the path to our goals. The social environment has a profound impact on our self-discipline. What we sometimes overlook is that the energy of others not only influences our attitude, but also our biology. Studies reveal something fascinating. Our brains are activated not only when we think about ourselves, but also when we think about close people, like friends and family. This phenomenon highlights human interconnection, showing how our shared experiences are not only emotional, but also cerebral. It indicates that, naturally, we absorb the behaviors, attitudes, and energies of those around us. If we're surrounded by positive attitudes, our willpower is strengthened. If we're exposed to negativity, it can be weakened. It's crucial to understand that often our discipline doesn't depend solely on our individual effort, but on the external influences we choose to allow in our lives. This discovery emphasizes the importance of carefully choosing who we surround ourselves with and the environments in which we operate. A powerful lesson emerges from this data. By connecting with people facing similar challenges to ours, we find allies on our path to self-development. The value of a community that shares our goals is not only in emotional support, but also in creating a network of mutual accountability. Camaraderie strengthens our discipline. Imagine exercising with someone who shares your goal. Simply acknowledging each other's small progress can multiply the results. Collective motivation works like a current that drags everyone forward, especially during times of doubt. In a study by the University of Pittsburgh, couples who supported each other in their efforts to lose weight saw an increase in success, rising from 24% to 66%. This statistic highlights the power of social reinforcement. When we share our efforts, we not only feel supported, but we also propel each other to new heights. This is the power of mutual support. We push each other, transforming individual effort into a collective force. Although rewarding ourselves is a healthy practice, we must be cautious of temptations. The key is not to fall into complacency. The act of rewarding ourselves for progress is important, but it can backfire if it becomes an excuse to abandon the path. The presence of others can push us to excel. Knowing someone is watching encourages us to give our best, to avoid procrastination, to maintain our discipline. This impulse is intrinsic to our social nature. The simple awareness that others are watching elevates us, forces us to be better. If we know someone is waiting for us to fulfill a commitment, it becomes much harder to put off our goals. This can also apply to technology. Productivity apps and social media serve as a modern form of generating that external presence that reminds us of our goals and strengthens our determination. Apps that share our achievements also help create this watchful environment that motivates us to keep going, preventing the effort from dissipating. However, there's an interesting paradox. Talking about our plans often has the opposite effect. Professor Peter Hollins discovered that those who keep their aspirations quiet are more likely to achieve them. It's intriguing how sometimes our mind tricks us into a false sense of success when we share our accomplishments too early. Why? Because premature praise from others gives us a false sense of success, which weakens our self-discipline. This phenomenon has a deep psychological explanation. By verbalizing our achievements before we accomplish them, we trigger an immediate reward that can reduce our drive to move forward. When we receive recognition before achieving something, our mind deceives us into thinking we've already reached the goal. We can even fall into this trap ourselves. It's natural to celebrate achievements, but we shouldn't allow these celebrations to become excuses to relax. It's important to distinguish between genuine recognition of progress and the dangerous habit of using achievements as justification to pause in effort. A University of Chicago study showed how, after receiving praise for their progress in a diet, over 80% of participants rewarded themselves with chocolate instead of healthier options. This example serves as a clear reminder that when we give ourselves too much premature gratification, we can lose sight of the final goal. The lesson here is clear. Recognizing our achievements is valuable, but it should never become a reason to abandon effort. Ideally, we should celebrate each step toward the goal as part of the continuous process of improvement, not as a final point justifying complacency. If you want an additional boost, finding a role model can be a powerful source of motivation. Observing someone who has already achieved what we want is not only inspiring, but also strategic. Seeing someone who has attained what you desire not only inspires, but also reminds you that what seems unreachable is actually possible. Such role models provide a tangible vision of what we can achieve, making our own aspirations seem more attainable. Your success is around the corner, and surrounding yourself with the right people, those who challenge and support you, will allow you to discover all your potential. The power of human relationships is a catalyst on the journey to success, and these connections allow us to grow through synergy. Self-discipline is the art of visualizing a bright future and working with determination to achieve it, even when the results are not immediate. This ability to project our long-term goals is crucial, as it allows us to maintain motivation throughout the process, even when immediate gratification seems elusive. It is an exercise in long-term thinking. This kind of approach has incredible power, but it also presents a challenge. The fruits of our efforts may take years to materialize. Patience then becomes an essential virtue in this process. It's easy to lose motivation when we don't see quick results, but the key is to keep the purpose of our sacrifices clear in our minds. In moments of doubt, remembering the why behind our goals acts as an anchor that keeps us grounded, even when the waves of adversity rise. Every time we face temptation, let's remember why we resist and who we're doing it for. This approach not only strengthens our discipline, but also connects us with our deeper purpose, providing us with a clear direction. Scientists have discovered something fascinating. Our brain does not emotionally distinguish between our future self and that of others. This reminds us that often the concept of our future self can feel distant and abstract, like a far-off and unrealistic version. We often don't feel a real connection with our future self, making it even harder to sacrifice immediate pleasures for a long-term goal. However, this principle has a positive side. We can train our minds to see our future as more immediate and tangible. It is in this training where one of the keys to self-discipline lies, training the mind to project long-term benefits as something concrete and attainable. In a study, participants in a virtual reality experiment interacted with avatars of themselves, one with their current image and another with their aged version. This type of exercise strengthens the connection between the present and the future, removing the emotional distance we often feel with our self of tomorrow. Those who saw their aged avatar more often chose to invest their money in a pension fund. The idea of visualizing our future self is powerful. We can not only use technology as a resource to create a visual image, but also use simple mental exercises, like asking ourselves how our decisions today will impact our life in the near or distant future. We can use apps to show us what we would look like over the years, or simply engage in a mental exercise. How will my decision today impact my life in 10 minutes, hours, days, or years? By adopting this approach, we link our daily actions to their long-term repercussions, enhancing our ability to make disciplined decisions. This simple shift in perspective can transform our ability to make disciplined choices. Self-discipline is the key to stepping out of our comfort zone, and although it is not always the easiest option, it will always be the most beneficial. It is in discomfort where growth lies, in the push toward the unknown that we truly discover what we are capable of. If we keep giving in to temptations and making the same decisions over and over, we will remain stuck in a cycle of repetition rather than approaching our goals. This cycle may seem tempting and easy, but it is only in breaking the routine that we find new possibilities. Stepping out of our comfort zone allows us to grow and reach new heights. Sometimes this process may seem scary, but the benefits it brings are immense. Although the fear of change can paralyze, true strength lies in embracing that fear and moving forward. A great example of this is the story of entrepreneur Jia Jiang. Jia Jiang believed his fear of rejection limited his potential. This fear is one of the most common barriers we all face, and its impact extends far beyond the professional sphere. He decided to confront this fear with courage and embarked on a unique program of 100 days, where he approached strangers with absurd requests, like asking for huge sums of money. Every rejection he faced only made him stronger and more determined. This type of exercise is a way to train our resilience, challenging the mind to reinterpret rejection as an opportunity for learning and not as failure. This resilience exercise led him to fulfill his dream of becoming a professor, despite being rejected twice by the University of Texas. On his third attempt, he succeeded. Jia Zhang's story highlights a powerful truth. Only through repetition and direct confrontation with our fears can we overcome them, unlocking our true potential. We all face fears, insecurities, and doubts. What makes the difference is how we choose to confront them. The willingness to act, even in the midst of uncertainty, is what transforms those who remain trapped in paralysis into those who move towards success. While many people avoid their fears and limit their potential, those who have the courage to face them can unlock a stronger, more capable version of themselves. This type of courage doesn't refer to the absence of fear, but to the willingness to act despite fear. Willpower pushes us forward, challenges us to take one more step beyond our fears, and is the vehicle that takes us to our true potential. Ultimately, our self-discipline is not only an act of resistance, but a vehicle to personal freedom and the fulfillment of our greatest aspirations. The decisions we make every day define our personal and professional life. Each choice, no matter how small it seems, has the potential to either lead us toward a desired future or take us away from it. Choosing between what is easy and what is necessary is not an easy task, but with self-discipline, we have the power to make the right decisions. Self-discipline, then, not only provides us with willpower, but also serves as a compass that guides us through the temptations and distractions of everyday life. The key is to develop that willpower that pushes us towards success. The development of self-discipline requires a constant commitment, a determined focus that allows us to move forward even when immediate rewards seem absent. Self-discipline is often associated with pushing ourselves to our limits, but this notion can lead to burnout if we're not careful. Self-discipline should not be seen as a constant and exhausting sacrifice, but as a balanced process that requires both effort and rest. Self-discipline is not something we simply deplete. It is a skill that we can strengthen and train. Just like we train a muscle, we need practices that allow us to develop our self-discipline in a sustainable way. With consistent practice, we'll learn to direct our energy effectively and understand what strengthens and weakens our will. This self-awareness is key. Understanding how the different stimuli in our environment affect us allows us to anticipate and navigate obstacles before they deviate us from the path. If we learn to manage it properly, we can achieve extraordinary accomplishments. Well-managed self-discipline not only leads us to success, but also enriches our personal, professional, and emotional life. It's important to recognize that progress does not happen overnight. The path to self-discipline is a continuous journey, not a one-time goal. We live in a world where social expectations, the habits of others, and our own traumas can influence our decisions. Often, these external influences distract us from what we truly want to achieve. Overcoming these obstacles is not easy, but self-control is a journey, not an immediate destination. This journey towards self-control becomes more effective when we cultivate patience and perseverance, understanding that each challenge is part of the growth process. This journey becomes easier when we have clear goals and celebrate even the smallest progress. It's crucial to recognize and celebrate these small achievements, as each step forward brings us closer to our ideal version of ourselves. To stay on track towards self-discipline, these questions will help us stay focused. Are we aware of the decisions we make? Awareness is the first step in making decisions aligned with our values and goals. Do we have clarity about our goals? Clarity about what we want to achieve provides us with direction and purpose, propelling our discipline toward concrete goals. What are the factors that drain our willpower, and how can we minimize them? Identifying the factors that drain our mental energy enables us to reduce their impact and focus our strength on what truly matters. What tools and methods work best for strengthening our self-control? Each person is different. Finding the tools that suit our lifestyle best enhances our effectiveness in building habits. Step by step, we can build solid habits that support our self-discipline and bring us closer to our goals. Building these habits is a daily investment that, over time, creates a solid foundation for success. Try these tips to strengthen your self-discipline. Minimize distractions. Turn off social media notifications to keep your focus on what truly matters. Reducing external distractions is key to maintaining our attention on the present, on what really needs to be done. Visualize your future. Imagine who you want to be in 10 years. What will you have achieved? Let those dreams guide you and turn them into concrete goals. Goal visualization allows us to experience the emotion and purpose that the future holds, motivating us to keep moving forward in the present. Reflect on your self-sabotage. Instead of thinking you are lazy, delve into the reasons behind your habits. Why are certain activities not motivating you? Understanding the root of your behaviors will allow you to change. Introspection is a powerful tool that helps us identify patterns of self-sabotage and make more conscious decisions aligned with our goals. Every step we take on this journey brings us closer to our best version. Self-discipline is not only about achieving goals, but also about becoming a better person along the way. Self-discipline doesn't just help us reach our goals, it transforms us into stronger, more focused, and more resilient people. As we grow in self-discipline, we also develop a greater capacity to handle adversity and stay focused on what really matters. And here we are at the end of this journey toward more powerful, focused, and transformative self-discipline. Thank you for staying until the end and for walking this path of personal growth with me. You've taken an important step toward the best version of yourself, and that is priceless. If this audiobook has inspired you, motivated you, or given you new tools to take control of your life, I would love to know. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with those who may also benefit from these ideas. Remember, every small step counts, and the path to self-discipline starts with one decision: to keep moving forward always.